You know those stories so unbelievable you swear they have to be fiction? Yeah, this one beats them all. This is the story of Elizabeth Holmes, the woman who promised to revolutionize medicine, became a billionaire doing it, and then exposed herself as one of the biggest fraudsters in modern history. And if you watched The Dropout, you might think you know the whole story. But trust me, the truth is darker, stranger, and way more unhinged than the show ever let on. How the myth was born. Elizabeth Holmes was 19, brilliant, ambitious, and absolutely convinced she was going to change the world. She dropped out of Stanford, claiming she was too focused on building the future to waste time finishing college, and founded a company called Theranos. Her pitch? A device called the Edison that could run hundreds of blood tests from just a few drops of blood. No giant needles, no vials, no waiting days for results, just a finger prick, a tiny cartridge, and boom, instant diagnostics. It sounded like the iPhone of healthcare. Investors were hypnotized. Holmes also crafted an image that made people believe she was the next Steve Jobs. Black turtleneck, red lipstick, that strangely deep, deliberate voice, the intense staring. Everything was intentional. She wasn't just selling a product, she was selling a character. And for a while, the world bought it. By the early 2000s, Holmes was everywhere. Forbes called her the youngest self-made female billionaire. Silicon Valley worshipped her. Media outlets put her on magazine covers like she was the future. This wasn't just hype. This looked like legitimacy, at least from the outside. Behind the closed doors of Theranos headquarters, the vibe was completely different. Employees saw what investors didn't. The Edison device was a disaster. It misfired. It malfunctioned. It gave wildly inaccurate results. It couldn't do even a fraction of what Holmes claimed. By 2014, out of more than 240 blood tests the company advertised, only 15 could be run on the Edison. The rest? They were secretly being done on standard commercial machines. Theranos wasn't innovating. Theranos was lying. And the consequences were real. Patients got false cancer scares, incorrect pregnancy results, wrong medication adjustments. This wasn't just corporate fraud, this was fraud with life and death stakes. The investigation. In 2015, Wall Street Journal reporter John Carreyrou got a tip that something at Theranos wasn't right. He started digging. Employees quietly reached out. Whistleblowers risked their careers and their families to expose the truth. Carreyrou's investigation revealed the lie at the center of Theranos. The Edison didn't work, and it never had. When the story hit, Theranos imploded almost overnight. Investors panicked. Doctors pulled back. Regulators finally stepped in. And that's when the world met the real Elizabeth Holmes. Not the turtlenecked genius billionaire, but the CEO of a health tech mirage built on intimidation, secrecy, and fabricated results. The real connection to The Dropout. Here's where HBO's The Dropout comes in. The miniseries premiered in 2022, starring Amanda Seyfried as Elizabeth Holmes. It's based on the ABC News podcast of the same name, and it chronicles Holmes's rise from Stanford dropout to Silicon Valley sensation to criminal defendant. Seyfried's performance was incredible. She even won an Emmy for it. The show dramatizes 8 episodes of Theranos' history, from Holmes's early dreams to her courtroom downfall. The series does something interesting. It tries to make you understand Elizabeth Holmes. Not sympathize with her necessarily, but understand her. It shows her relationship with Sunny Balwani, her older business partner and boyfriend, who becomes the COO of Theranos. It shows her methodically adopting that famous deep voice, the black turtleneck, the whole image. It's all calculated. And Merriweather, the show's creator, wants you to see that even though Holmes is doing terrible things, she's still a person. A flawed, delusional person. Reality check. So, let's talk about accuracy, because this is where it gets interesting. The Dropout is a dramatization, which means it takes real events and structures them for television. Some things are dead accurate. Holmes did attend Stanford. She was named a President's Scholar, which meant she got funding for a research project. She did claim to have been sexually assaulted at Stanford and reported it to the police. These are all true. The board members mentioned in the show? Real The Wall Street Journal investigation? Real? Now, here's the big one that people talk about. Holmes's famous deep voice in The Dropout. There's a scene where you see her deliberately training herself to speak in a lower register, adopting it as an affectation. The truth is, we don't actually know if that's true. Several people who knew her early in life have said she used to speak in a much higher voice, but there's no definitive proof that her current voice is fake. The show takes what many people suspect and dramatizes it as fact, which is a choice, and people have opinions about it. The legal fallout. In January 2022, Elizabeth Holmes was convicted on 4 counts of wire fraud and conspiracy. She was found guilty of defrauding investors, but surprisingly, acquitted of charges involving patients. In November 2022, she was sentenced to 11 years and 3 months in federal prison. She began serving her sentence in May 2023 at Federal Prison Camp Bryan in Texas. Even now, Holmes continues trying to shape her own narrative. In interviews, she insists, "They're not playing me, they're playing a character I created." Even in prison, Elizabeth Holmes is still performing. As for Theranos, the company dissolved in 2018. The $9 billion empire evaporated overnight. Investors lost hundreds of millions. Patients suffered. Employees were traumatized. And Silicon Valley was forced to confront the dangers of believing the myth instead of the science. Before we wrap up, I want to hear from you. Do you think Elizabeth Holmes truly believed in her vision? Or was it all a calculated con from the start? Let me know in the comments. And if you enjoyed this deep dive, don't forget to hit that like button and subscribe for more stories just like this. Thanks for watching.